And I'm sitting here in Leeds looking over the skyline with Anamaria Wills of CidaCo, and we are looking at the MyCake dashboard of the Arts Council England data for 2011-2012. So what we've picked here is the Yorkshire and Humber region, and everything up to 90 million turnover, which is essentially all the organisations in the data set for Yorkshire and across all art forms, which gives us 101 organisations with an average total income of 900,000. And so two columns of data. This first one, the selected sample, so that's the Yorkshire data, versus the national average. So, Anamaria, what do you reckon to this lot?
Well, I reckon it shows we're doing pretty well in Yorkshire. So if we take, for example, starting off with the earned income at core, we're very fractionally ahead of the national average. But then if you go down to regular funding from Arts Council, we're demanding less of their money than is the national average.
Which you would see as?
Which I would see as a positive. I would see as a very important thing, because that as a source of income is going to become a smaller and smaller part of the whole picture. And so it means that Yorkshire is already moving away from the third model that we've traditionally used, but which is becoming increasingly irrelevant. Just looking at the earned income, we're slightly behind national averages, so there's obviously some work to do there.
In the up here in the education and supplemental. Yeah, marginally.
But I think we're doing pretty well on non-lottery ACE money, which is interesting. Sponsorship, low levels still.
But pretty close to the national average, you know.
Yes.
And given how skewed that data tends to be by the London data set,
yes, that's
then
true.
I'd say sitting on the average is pretty good.
Yep. And local authority going down compared to the national average, but other public grants significantly higher than the national average. So that's also very interesting, you know, why that's particularly happening here.
Almost 50% higher.
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely. Actually, yes. So that's really significant. So I think Yorkshire's doing well. We can do better, and I think that 31% from ACE regulars got to come down a bit further. And clearly some of the other sources, we've just got to work a bit harder at increasing those. But we're pretty much online on some of those other things. The earned income thing, or each area of earned income, core education and supplementary, all of them really need addressing, don't they? Because they're not good enough yet.
Yep. And of course, if we then split this down further into art form specifics, we could look at, you know, how this figure varies. If we looked at the difference, the obvious difference to look at would be, say, theatre versus visual arts.
Sure.
On the expectation that theatre's probably doing pretty well. Let's see.
Where does opera? Opera goes in theatre, does it?
Yes, I think so. I'd need to check that.
That would make a difference to us.
Yes, it would. I agree. But if we look at the theatre.
Yep, very good. Bravo Theatre. Look at us. We're ahead. We're ahead of the national average. Very good indeed. And
let's see what visual arts has to offer.
Visual arts is 19.
Do you know that? But for a set of organisations who typically don't charge, and we might want to check to see whether the museums are in there. But if that was just visual arts galleries and a certain amount of grant, that would be not bad.
Pretty good. Yeah.
And indeed, we could look at. Let's go back to all organisations for the visual arts. Give it a minute to. Come here. Do I believe that? Hang on. Well, in which case you are indeed sitting on the visual arts average, because there we've got all regions just for visual arts, 19.6%, whereas if we picked Yorkshire, you're marginally above at 19.9. So at least you're on the average for the art form,
So why does it say 26.3 then?
Because that's the national average.
For
So this set
national average for all funding or funding?
For everything.
Oh, I see, right. Okay.
So all art forms,
Okay.
all regions, all sizes.
Right, okay.
So this second column doesn't change. The
Yeah.
only one that's changing as we
Yeah.
muck about is here.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's a very quick overview of how we can use this dashboard to look to see how by region and by art form we vary versus a national average, and it allows us to come up with some more particular, more specific comparison points than just the broad brushstrokes.
I'm just looking again, contributed sponsorship is 1.1%, which is
For visual arts
not
in Yorkshire.
only lower than national average, but it's, I mean, it is just remarkably low, and it is Leeds' reputation, in fact, isn't it? Yorkshire's reputation, that we don't do so well on that. So,
but on a more positive note, you're doing better on donations in the visual arts.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, you know, with all of these, there's quite a lot of swings and roundabouts.
Yeah,
but it allows you to have that conversation here in Leeds about, okay, visual arts, we need to get your sponsorship levels up. Is there a set of comparisons in the region who do better at this? So by, you know, theatre do a bit better. So is there something that theatre can teach visual arts, or do we need to go further afield to learn those lessons?
Very good. Good. Okay. Fabulous stuff.